3 real stories: a party that turned terrifying, a kayaking trip that nearly ended in horror, and a camping night that revealed something watching in the dark. These aren't ghost tales. They're real encounters with true fear. I'm 18 and about to start college this September. In July, my friend Miranda hosted a graduation pool party at her parents' house while they were away. Her place is our usual hangout, so she invited almost everyone from our grade. By nightfall, the backyard was packed. More than 100 people, maybe 150. Jonah and I arrived early to help set up lights and speakers, and at first things were fun and chaotic in the best way. People in swimsuits, music, laughter, and the pool. As the night went on, strangers started filtering in. People from other schools walked through the gate like they belonged there. Miranda was frustrated. She'd asked that no randoms come, but once the crowd swelled, it was impossible to control. She posted in our group chat warning anyone who brought uninvited guests they'd be kicked out. The message helped a little, but the party stayed loud. Around 1 a.m, the police arrived after noise complaints. They shut the music off and ordered almost everyone to leave. The energy dissolved. By around 3 a.m, after picking up cans and towels and dragging wet chairs into storage, we moved inside to cool off. We were exhausted, a little drunk, and half asleep in the living room when a loud crack came from upstairs. We all froze. Miranda whispered, "What was that?" Jonah and I went to check. We found Steve asleep in the guest room, so we told Miranda and convinced ourselves the noise came from him. That explanation felt thin even then, but none of us wanted to admit we were uneasy. The silence after the police left felt heavy, like the backyard had been emptied of more than people. Some of the lightness of the evening vanished. We tried to laugh it off while we worked, trading small jokes and complaints about sticky floors and spilled drinks, but the nervous energy lingered. I remember the air smelling of chlorine and lemon cleaner and the low hum of the refrigerator. It should have been ordinary. Instead, it felt like the calm before something bad. Miranda and Mel fell asleep in Miranda's room. Jonah crashed on the couch and I took the parents' bed. I remember dozing and then being jolted by terrified screams. I ran to Miranda's room and opened the door into near darkness. Miranda and Mel were curled on the floor in the corner, crying and clutching each other. In the opposite corner, a tall man stood motionless. He looked toward me as if he had been waiting. I shouted for the girls to run. They screamed that he had been touching their feet before they woke. We fled the house, gathering at the neighbor's driveway. Someone called the police. Officers searched the house, but found no one inside. The only possible exit was through the back. None of us recognized the man. He must have slipped in during the chaos of the party and hidden until most guests left. We replay the night in our minds, how we could have acted, whether we might have stopped him. Fear makes for fast judgments later. At the time, we were teenagers who were tired, scared, and not thinking clearly. The party that started as a celebration became a nightmare we still can't shake. A single night that changed the way we feel about safety, about how quickly things can go wrong when too many people are in one place. There's a quiet scenic creek not far from my house that I like to visit on summer weekends. I usually load up my kayak, drive a few minutes out of town, and spend the afternoon on the calm water. It's peaceful out there, no noise, no people, just the sound of paddles dipping and the steady rush of water. I've kayaked that creek dozens of times, and not once had I ever seen another person doing the same. That solitude was exactly why I loved it. On this particular Saturday, the weather was perfect. Clear skies, gentle breeze, mid-70s. I parked in the small gravel area off the road, unloaded my kayak, and noticed something strange. Another car pulling in a few minutes after me. That had never happened before. I didn't think much of it and set off downstream. About 20 minutes later, as I rounded a bend, I saw movement ahead. A man stepped out from the trees and walked to the edge of the creek. He stopped, smiled, and waved. His grin was wide, but something about it felt wrong, forced, unnatural. Still, I was raised to be polite, so I stopped paddling and greeted him back. There was a long pause where he just stood there, hands on his hips, smiling like he was waiting for me to say something else. Trying to break the awkward silence, I said, "Beautiful day out, huh?" He nodded once and said, "Yup," then asked, "Where you from?" I lied, saying, "Up north, just visiting." The conversation felt off. His tone was flat, his eyes fixed too long on me. I wanted out of that exchange fast. I forced a smile, told him to have a great day, and started paddling again. I thought that was the end of it, but a few minutes later, I heard a faint crack from the woods behind me, a branch snapping. I turned slightly and froze. There he was, partly hidden behind a couple of trees, moving along the bank as if trying to stay unseen. He was following me. A rush of unease hit me. I didn't say anything, pretending not to notice. My stomach knotted as I kept glancing back every few seconds. Every time, he was still there, keeping pace. I pulled out my phone, trying to call my dad or my brother, but of course there was no signal. Out here, there never was. I started thinking of what to do. I didn't want to lead him farther downstream, where there was no road access, no one else around. So I stopped paddling, turned toward him, and yelled, "I see you there! Stop following me or I'm calling the police." He didn't answer, just froze behind a tree, half visible. My heart was hammering. I decided to fake a call. I held up my phone and said loudly, "Yeah, I'm calling right now. He's still here." I pretended to talk to an officer, describing the man and my location. That seemed to spook him. Without a word, he turned and walked back into the woods until I couldn't see him anymore. The moment he disappeared, I spun my kayak around and paddled harder than I ever had before, heading back upstream toward my car. Every few seconds I looked over my shoulder, expecting to see him again. When I finally reached the small dirt launch, I scanned the entire area before getting out. The other car was still there. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Shattered glass, glittering near my back tire. My rear passenger window was gone, smashed in. I didn't move closer. Instead, I backed away into the trees and checked my phone again. This time I had service. I called 911, trying to stay quiet and calm while explaining what had happened. Waiting for the police felt endless. Every sound in the woods made me jump. I kept expecting the man to appear again, maybe realizing I hadn't taken the bait. When the flashing lights finally appeared down the road, I ran out and waved them over. 2 officers stepped out, and I pointed toward my car. They approached it cautiously, flashlights in hand. One of them stopped suddenly and shouted, "Hands where I can see them." That's when I saw him, the same man from the creek, sitting in the back seat of my car, waiting. He'd broken in and hidden there, probably thinking I'd return, unlock the door, and drive off without noticing the window. The sight of him being pulled out and handcuffed was surreal. He looked different now. No fake smile, no wave, just cold silence as he avoided my eyes. The officer told me later I probably saved my own life by noticing the glass and staying back. I still think about what would have happened if I hadn't. That quiet creek doesn't feel peaceful anymore. What you're about to hear might sound like something out of a horror movie, but every word of it is true. Every summer, my friends and I go on a camping trip. It's been a tradition for years, just the 3 of us, a few tents, and a new location each time. One year, we picked a trail in West Glacier, Montana. My friend Luke, a photographer, brought his camera gear to capture the scenery. Our first day was peaceful, hiking, fishing, and watching the sun fade behind the trees. We had 2 tents. I slept alone in mine while Luke and Matt shared the other. The night passed quietly. The next day went by like any normal camping trip, but that second night, that's when things got strange. We had just put out the fire and settled into our tents when we heard something from the woods. Faint, but unmistakably a human voice. It sounded like an older woman calling, "Hello." At first it was distant. Then, every few seconds, it got closer, clearer. I called out to my friends, and they confirmed they heard it too. The voice didn't sound panicked. It was calm, deliberate, almost testing. Soon it was right outside my tent. "Hello." My heart was pounding. I know how it sounds, ignoring a woman who might have been lost, but something felt wrong. The voice wasn't right. And then I heard footsteps approaching. They stopped just inches from my tent wall. When the voice spoke again, I realized it wasn't a woman at all. It was a man pretending to sound like one. The tone cracked in a way that sent chills through me. Suddenly, the tent began shaking violently, like someone was clawing at it. I yelled, "What do you want?" and Matt shouted for them to leave. The shaking stopped. Then, footsteps hurried off into the darkness. For a while, I just sat frozen, trying to breathe. Eventually, I unzipped my tent and rushed into my friend's tent, clutching my sleeping bag. Even those few seconds outside, I felt like something was watching me, waiting to grab me. We didn't sleep much. We agreed someone would stay awake in shifts. Matt took first watch, while Luke and I tried to rest, but every rustle in the woods made me flinch. I must have dozed off eventually, because when I woke, sunlight was shining through the tent. Luke had fallen asleep too. We were alive, but we didn't feel safe. We packed fast and drove home in silence. During the ride, Luke was scrolling through his camera, reviewing the shots he'd taken. After a few minutes, he went completely still and told us to pull over. The last 3 pictures on his camera weren't his. The first 2 were taken from the woods, photos of our campsite at night. The third one froze us completely. It was taken inside our tent, showing the 3 of us asleep. None of us had heard a thing. Nothing was stolen, no one was hurt, but that made it worse. Someone, whoever had been out there pretending to be a woman, had crept into our campsite, stood over us as we slept, and taken a picture before leaving. To this day, we don't know who it was or what they wanted. Maybe it was just to scare us. If so, they succeeded, because that night, deep in the Montana woods, someone out there proved that the most terrifying thing you can meet in the dark isn't a ghost, it's another human being.